Susanna. I'm the Chief Experience Officer at Lernero, and today I would be interviewing our CEO, Kushi Mehta. Lernero is an e-learning platform with a team of more than 40 members from all around the world. This company has experienced a quick growth in the last few months, and today Kushi would be introducing us to its journey from the very scratch.
Thank you so much for having me here, Maria.
It's my pleasure. So Kushi, tell us, for anyone that doesn't know Lernero at all, where is it? What is Lernero about?
So as you mentioned earlier, to define it in simple terms, Lernero is an e-learning platform for extracurricular activities. To dive deeper into the concept, Lernero is an e-learning platform for extracurricular activities, including 6 categories: performing arts, fine arts, business education, health and fitness, IT, and languages. These 6 categories are the ones to start off with, and we definitely aim to dive deeper into other categories as well. We aim to connect students and instructors from all across the globe to emphasize on the importance of extracurricular activities and shift the manual process of looking for a class in your locality or going for extracurricular classes after school to an online platform, and expand horizons for the underprivileged people and expand horizons for everybody who aims to learn from people from all across the globe. So today, this platform enables me to learn karate from a teacher in Japan live and learn French from a francophone speaker in France live. And I can learn from an instructor one-on-one, or I could learn from an instructor with a group of other diverse individuals.
That was very insightful, Kushi. Thank you for your answer. So tell me, what challenges did you encounter when creating Lernero and all its journey?
Starting a company, having a startup has its own ups and downs, regardless of how cool it is to have your own startup. And those ups and downs come in different forms, and I would like to address 2 of the most important ones. One is emotional ups and downs, and one are the physical challenges that you face as an entrepreneur. Emotional ups and downs always vary from person to person, as every entrepreneur reacts to it very differently. But for me personally, I faced a lot of challenges in terms of gathering people, convincing people, idea validation, being clear about the idea myself before convincing somebody else about it. And I believe that I put in a lot of hard work in gathering the current team that we have, because it took a lot of effort of connecting with people on LinkedIn, connecting with people on Instagram, convincing your idea, putting it out there, talking to a lot of 100 people. I interviewed almost 75 people in the first few days of selecting core team members, shortlisting people, going through CVs. It's why is this an emotional roller coaster? Is because sometimes it's overwhelming to see a lot of applications for one position, and sometimes it's very challenging to find people that you actually want for another position. And when people don't apply for your position, you sometimes start questioning yourself as a leader. Is my idea actually good enough? Am I not a good leader? Can I not actually do this if people are not willing to come on board? What if this is a failure? Questioning these things makes you have a big emotional roller coaster going up and down. And you have your highs where everything feels so perfect and so overwhelming around you. And you have your extreme lows where you feel like, was all of this worth it at one particular point of time? And controlling your emotions at that moment, because other people rely on you. So controlling your emotions at that particular moment when you're at your lowest point is one of the most difficult emotional challenges that I have faced so far. And with time, I have learned to overcome this. Talking about the second type of challenges, physical challenges that every other entrepreneur usually faces, one of them is, of course, capital. Finding money to bootstrap yourself is a very difficult process to get through, especially when you do not have a lot of money from your parents' side, or when you do not want to ask money from your family's side. So gathering money is a big challenge that everybody faces, although we've gone through a lot of that process without a lot of capital. So even though it is a challenge, you have to spend a lot of time to cover up with the lack of money. Time and money in a startup are negatively proportional, and we have to learn how to cope up with that. So that's a physical challenge. And another physical challenge would be in terms of legalities. There are a lot of legalities involved, choosing which one to do when, what structure to choose for what. These are basic challenges that everybody faces in a startup. Gathering people is another challenge that most people face in a company. Differentiating your product from your competitors is another problem that a lot of startups face. And I think it's the initial phase of putting everything together gluing every single aspect of a company is one of the most difficult things I have ever done in my life. But it's only for the first few 3 to 6 months that this process is very hectic for. And once it settles down, it's relatively the product development that comes into a challenging phase than the setting up of the company.
That's very interesting, Kushi. I guess having a startup is not as easy as anyone could think. So, talking about gathering people, how did you manage to get a team of several dozen of people from all around the world?
I think this is one of the most asked questions. Gathering people is easy if you know who you want on your team. Once you are clear with what are your requirements, it is very easy to target the right kind of people. So for every other entrepreneur out there, I suggest you to target the kind of people you want in your core team first, and then look out for people. So initially, when I was looking for core team members, I actually made a list of all the departments I'll be requiring and what kind of people I'm looking for. So initially, I was looking for students because that's the age group I'm likely to get along with. And also, we did not have a lot of paid opportunities. So we were looking for people who are more passionate about the idea, the topic, and their department more than the monetary gain out of it. And once I had that in mind, I just posted it on LinkedIn, Instagram, different WhatsApp groups, and I got a lot of responses from people as who are interested in going through those CVs and understanding which one's good for what, researching about different job descriptions, different titles, their qualification skills required, and then comparing it with the CV and looking at other companies, their departments, their personnel in that department, and comparing, okay, is this what I'm looking for exactly? And is this person more compatible with me, my mindset, and the vision? What is the reason behind this person joining this company, showing interest in this person, in this company? So that was a huge process that I went through before shortlisting people. And to answer your question more directly, it was through social media platforms and clarity in screening of people and targeting people that made me get a lot of people. So it was the first few months where you comment on other people's posts, you put the word out there boldly, you cannot shy away from your own idea. Once that happens, it is very easy to get people because referrals and word of mouth then starts increasing. So it's the initial phase of building your brand image, having people to trust you and your company when it's starting off, that it is going to be worth their time. Their time is an investment and not a waste. That's one of the hardest parts of it. And so yes, it's through social media platforms, targeting the right people and having clarity on what kind of people you want, and then it's going to be easier to get people on board.
That was a really innovative way of approaching people. Now, talking about Learnero itself, how is it different from other e-learning platforms? How would a student learn a skill at Learnero or a teacher teach a skill at Learnero and not another platform?
Okay. Firstly, Learnero is one of the first e-learning platforms for extracurricular activities. Most of the e-learning platforms are focused or centralized around the idea of academics and academic help, academic tutoring, academic support for students. And Learnero focuses on extracurricular activities. We are rethinking the way education functions, and we are trying to be a leading company in terms of the extracurricular market in the education sector. So being one of the first e-learning platforms for extracurricular activities, we do not have any direct competitors at the moment. Regardless, one of the most unique points about Learnero is that we are connecting teachers and students from all across the globe with each other. So we are being a Facebook marketplace for instructors and students to share and teach and learn their skill on one particular platform. It's more about sharing your skill with the whole world rather than teaching for the sake of teaching it. So we are trying to develop an innovative platform where the values of collaboration, diversity is valued as much as innovation is valued in terms of skill sharing. And because we are focusing on such a diverse range of activities, It again differentiates us from our indirect competitors such as Skillshare or FutureLearn. We are focusing on, we are open to esports, we are open to beauty and fashion, we are open to IT, to business, to different kind of languages, to dance, drama, music, drums, guitar, anything you would like to learn, design, architecture. Learnero is open to all kinds of activities, and I think that's one of the biggest points that differentiates us from all other e-learning platforms that indirectly or directly surround themselves with the idea of extracurricular activities.
Well, Kushi, you just made really interesting points. Now, I can see that Learnero has had a really speedy growth, and it has also long path ahead. How do you see the company in 1 year and in 10 years?
It's a very interesting question, Maria, and one of my favorite questions, I'll be honest. Learnero being one of its first e-learning platforms, I definitely see Learnero taking over the e-learning industry very quickly in the short run, especially with the COVID-19 situation and the lack of extracurricular activities online for a lot of students and for a lot of schools. The trouble and the impact COVID-19 has had on the extracurricular market in the e-learning industry is great, is huge, and this makes me believe that Learnero has a lot of scope in the next 1 year to take over this entire e-learning market for extracurricular activities. So in 1 year down the line, I definitely see Learnero helping a lot of teachers and students from all across the globe who want to make a living out of teaching their skill or their passion or their hobby to other people, to stand out to the whole world in terms of their hobby or skill, or for a lot of students who've been struggling to find something to learn in terms of skill development. And to answer your question, 1 year down the line, I definitely see Learnero as a platform that has helped a lot of instructors, students, and learners to gain and grow themselves personally and through their skills, and for a lot of instructors to share their knowledge to people who are willing to learn all across the globe 1 year down the line. To answer your second question, for Learnero 10 years down the line, I think COVID-19's impact is something that's going to be long lasting. And once we realize the importance of extracurricular activities, which most of us have during the pandemic, the value of it is going to be greater, more impactful, and is going to be more long lasting 10 years down the line, a decade down the line. And that's why I see Learnero as one of the most global platforms that allows everyone to connect with each other, to learn a skill in the most affordable prices, to change the whole manual process, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, change the whole manual process of looking for a class next to your house, in your locality, traveling there, and learning it from one particular teacher for a very long time in the same classroom, to an online platform, opening a sea of opportunities for a lot of diversity, a lot of cross-cultural collaboration, and a lot more innovation as people who are privileged, underprivileged, or people who even just want to grow themselves in terms of their skills. All of them should have this platform as something that's accessible, as something that's affordable, and something that allows them to reach out to people from all across the globe. So in 10 years down the line, I really want Learnero to make an impact on each and every one all across the globe and make e-learning for extracurricular activities more diverse, more collaborative, and more affordable and accessible for everybody all across the globe. I do not want the fact that learning from someone from another country to be a privileged option. I want that to be a basic availability for every student all across the globe.
Thank you, Kushi. I can definitely see the bright future that Learnero has. My last question for you is, what would you say to a student that is around 18, 19 years old that wants to launch his or her own project?
Go for it. Just do it. I see a lot of us getting indulged in other people's opinions, in other people's approvals to start your own project or your own company. Starting your own company is a complicated deal. so it's no simple task. But if you really want to do it, and if there is a calling inside of you that urges you to go for it, do it. And I must admit, it's not all rainbows and sunshines. There are a lot of ups and downs that you will face. There are a lot of risks that come with it. There is a lot of time commitment that comes with such a project. So if you plan on launching something on a big scale, be ready for the time commitment, be ready for the ups and downs, be ready for the challenges. But at the end of the day, I think if you really want to be an entrepreneur, one day or the other, you will have to come across these challenges. And that's what makes us who we are. That's what makes us successful entrepreneurs. That's what makes us successful leaders. And I don't think age should ever be a factor that determines your rate of success or determines how valuable or worthy you are in your position, because knowledge comes with experience, not with the amount of time or the amount of years you spend on something. It's about what intensity you are learning something with, because I can learn, and everybody's learning potential is very, very different. So I think the right time to do something is really dependent on you, your potential, your caliber, your vision about yourself and your career goals. And I don't think this is something that requires a lot of third person approval, because a lot of people will disagree with you, will question you, will make you reflect your entire life's choices during this process. And if you really want to do it, there is nothing that should stop you through this process. But I also urge everyone to be realistic about it. As I mentioned, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are a lot of challenges and a lot of dedication that comes with this process, especially if you are a young individual, if you are a student. There are a lot of academic commitments that come with you as well. And if you are planning to launch something, think of it in the long run. Do not start something just for the sake of starting something. Okay, come on, I need to do something for the summer project and I'm going to launch a company for that. That's not how it should be. As cool as it sounds to have your startup, it comes with a lot of challenges. And think of it in the long run, be realistic about it, but have a big vision. And yes, just go for it. If it is a calling, I don't think there's anything that can stop you through the process, not even anybody else's opinion.
Well, thank you, Kushi. That was really inspiring. If we could get a phrase from this whole interview, I would say would be go for it. And this is a message that goes for any person with a dream and is seeing this right now. I'm really grateful for having talked to you today.
I'm really grateful for having you in the team, Maria. You've been a very valuable asset to all of us, and thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much for taking your time out to talk to us, and you've been a very important part through Learnero's journey. And I'm really grateful for having you on the team, and thank you so much everybody for watching our interview and being a part of Learnero, and keep supporting us through the journey. Thank you so much.